Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Certificate Course in Dialogue Studies, Week 3, Session 2. We have with us today Sudheendra Kulkarni ji. Sudheendra Kulkarni ji is the founder and chairman of the Forum for a New South Asia, which advocates a vision for peaceful and prosperous South Asian subcontinent, primarily based on India-Pakistan-China cooperation. Between 1998 and 2004, he served as a close aide to India's former Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. In the Prime Minister's office, he was associated with the India Shining campaign and rode on the inaugural Delhi-Lahore Bus. An independent, socio-political activist and author, he's also a well-known columnist in Indian newspapers and a commentator on TV channels. Between 2009 and 2017, he served as chairman of the Observer Research Foundation, Mumbai, a non-partisan public policy think tank, through which he established the Ji Xianlin Centre for India-China Studies at the University of Mumbai. He has authored Music of the Spinning Wheel, Mahatma Gandhi's manifesto for the internet age. Today, he's going to talk about how the world needs peaceful people like Gandhi and Fethullah Gulen and the similarities between them. Before we start the session, I would request everyone to switch on their cameras so that we can have an interactive session. And Mr. Kulkarni, we have 2 hours for the session, and you can conduct it however you like. There is usually a question answers round at the end, but you can also have it in the middle as per your convenience. So the floor is all yours. Please start. Thank you.
Thank you, Pragya. And a very big thank you to my dear friend Behzad. Good afternoon to all the participants. I cannot see your faces right now, but I hope that in the course of this afternoon, we'll have a face-to-face interaction in the digital mode. I'm very happy, friends, that I am once again on this platform to participate with those who have enrolled themselves for this certificate course on dialogue studies, which is a very important initiative by the In Dialogue Foundation. The name of the foundation itself conveys its commitment to dialogue. Dialogue is a very common word, but it's a very profound concept. The world today needs more and more listening to and the more and more conversations. The world needs conversations so that we can understand each other. And when we understand each other, we begin to trust each other. And when we trust each other, we find pathways to living together in peace and harmony. We need dialogue at all levels, between governments, political leaders at the top level, between diplomats, but also amongst common people. Every conversation, every dialogue makes a difference. And which is why, even though we are having this event in a fairly small group, I congratulate you, friends, for taking interest in studying the whole science, philosophy, and the art of dialogue. And I do hope that this course will help you continue on the path of dialogue throughout your life in different circumstances, in different contexts, but the purpose always is going to remain the same. And that is how we can understand each other as human beings. Each one of us is unique. There are no two individuals in this world who are the same. No two cultures are the same. No two religions are the same. No two countries are the same. Diversity and difference is something which is integral to the architecture of the universe as God Almighty has created. God Almighty wants diversity. He wants differences. At the same time, He is also telling us that beneath the diversity and beneath the outward differences, there is a certain unity. Please understand that unity. And when you understand the unity, you have got the right formula to live together in peace and harmony, which is so essential for human happiness. So friends, I think that In Dialogue Foundation, in its own way, is making a very important contribution to the dialogue process. And I'm not surprised that In Dialogue Foundation is doing this, because they are the volunteers associated with the In Dialogue Foundation in India, and similar such sister organizations around the world. All are inspired by the enlightened philosophy of Hoja Effendi, Fethullah Gulen. I have had the good fortune of meeting the volunteers of this vast international organization in several countries. And everywhere I'm so impressed and so inspired by looking at their work. Friends, only last month, I was in Africa. I went to South Africa, I went to Rwanda, then I was in Kenya. And I received a call from Bezad when I was in Rwanda, saying that there is such a course, and he wanted me to be a resource person on a particular date. So I said, dear Bezad, I am in Africa and I can't participate on that particular date. So Bezad said, whoa, you are in Africa. I'm very happy to know. So where are you going after this? I said, Kenya. So can I ask my friend to contact you in Nairobi? I said, with great pleasure. So immediately his friend Mustafa, who is another volunteer of the movement inspired by Fethullah Gulen, contacted me. And friends, I can't tell you how efficiently this organization works. Mustafa organized my talk in Nairobi at a beautiful headquarters of the Hijmat movement. And the talk was on the same subject that I'm going to talk today on, that is Mahatma Gandhi and Fethullah Gulen, why our troubled world needs their ideals for peace and harmony. Before I proceed further, I must say also how happy I am to meet an old friend and an old colleague in the same dialogue and harmony making endeavor, that is Pragya Narang. I'd met her some years ago when as part of the activities of another peacemaking organization, Agaz-e Dosti. which works for peace, friendship between India and Pakistan. And every year they bring out a calendar that conveys the message of peace with the help of paintings by students from India and also students from Pakistani schools. What a wonderful initiative. And she was part of this. And I had participated in the launch of one such calendar. And after many years, I'm so happy to see Pragya again, and happy also to know that she's now part of this endeavor of India in Dialogue Foundation. So what it means, friends, that people who are associated with dialogue studies and dialogue practice, wherever they are, whichever organization they may be with, they always are committed to the mission of promoting dialogue. And which is why I'm sure that this certificate course will help you. Wherever you go in future in life, you will be very determined practitioners of dialogue. So let me come to the subject of my talk today, which again, as Pragya explained, is about how I have understood the philosophy of Fethullah Gulen and the similarities of that philosophy with the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, and how their teachings are needed to promote peace and harmony in our troubled world. Let me begin by telling you how I came to know this great Turkish Sufi scholar, preacher, Fethullah Gulen. The year was 2005, nearly 2 decades ago. A friend of mine who had just come back from an interreligious dialogue conference at the United Nations in New York, he said, I want to give a book to you. He gave me a book on Fethullah Gulen. I read it and I was so inspired with his very refreshing views on Islam. I did not know Fethullah Gulen before, but that book prompted me to write an article in the Times of India. The title of that article was Islamic Voice of Reason and Reform in America. Why America? Because this Turkish scholar, as all of you know, has been living in exile in the United States. So let me read out a few lines from that article of mine in 2005. I began, I quote, every religion has two sides to it, the essential and the aberrant. To understand both and to be willing to correct the latter in the light of the former is a task that history enjoins upon the followers of every faith. At a time when global attention is focused on how this task is being performed within Muslim societies, it is instructive to pay heed to an influential Turkish voice of reason, moderation, and harmonization. It is that of Fethullah Gulen, the spiritual leader of what is described as one of the most active reformist Islamic movements of our time. What is perhaps most remarkable about Gulen is his public condemnation of violence in the name of Islam. Following Al-Qaeda's recent terrorist attacks in London and Egypt, and its similar attacks in Istanbul 2 years ago, the most explicit Islamic condemnation of such acts has come from Gulen. He says, I quote, Osama bin Laden has sullied the bright face of Islam. Osama bin Laden has sullied the bright face of Islam. The reparation for the damage he has caused requires years of work. Substituting the Islamic cause for his own cravings, bin Laden is committing monstrous acts. This is what Fethullah Gulen wrote. Gulen's advocacy of Islam. Now, here I should mention that he is influenced equally by Sufism and by Said Nursi, Turkey's 20th century scholar warrior. And about Said Nursi, I'll say more a little later in my talk. Gulen's advocacy of Islam is unique. On the one hand, he exhorts Muslims to strive for self-improvement through an ethical orientation to life. He says, those who want to reform the world must first reform themselves. Those who want to reform the world must first reform themselves. You see how closely this thought echoes what Mahatma Gandhi has written. It's a very famous quotation by Mahatma Gandhi. I'm sure all of you have come across that, where he says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Mahatma Gandhi says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." There are lots of people, all of us, in fact, we want to see so much change for the better in the world. But Mahatma Gandhi said, first, inculcate that change within yourself that you wish to see in the world. And the same thought, in different words, is expressed by Fethullah Gulen, who says, those who want to reform the world must first reform themselves. In order to bring others to the path of traveling to a better world, they must purify their inner worlds of hatred, rancor, and jealousy, and adorn their outer worlds with all kinds of virtues. So Fethullah Gulen continues. At the same time, he is unreservedly opposed to political Islam. Unfortunately, friends, every religion at some point or the other in its history has been politicized and has been used for political ends. So Fethullah Gulen says that I am unreservedly opposed to political Islam. He condemns terrorists carrying out barbaric acts in the name of Islam because of his conviction that evil means cannot justify seemingly noble religious ends. Here again, we see the similarity between his teachings and that of Gandhi. Gandhi also says that wrong means cannot justify good ends. If the end is, the objective may be right, but if you follow and if you adopt wrong means, you will never achieve the right ends. The same is said by Gulen, who says that evil means cannot justify seemingly noble religious ends. So if somebody says that we will politicize Islam because we want to achieve the good objectives, the noble goals of Islam, but if you politicize it, you have already compromised with the ideals, with the principles of Islam. And it's true, friends, not only about Islam, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Christianity or Buddhism, whichever religion is used for political ends, for power, ultimately it ends up compromising on the basic ideals, basic principles of that religion. So I continue my study of Fethullah Gulen, and also I continued my efforts to popularize Gulen's teachings in India. For a considerable period of time, I was associated with the Observer Research Foundation, which is a leading think tank. And I used to fairly regularly invite leading members of the Hizmet movement. Hizmet movement, as you know, is a movement inspired by Fethullah Gulen, and it means service, a movement dedicated to service of humanity, seva. So one such prominent scholar who has studied the philosophy of Fethullah Gulen is Professor Anwar Islam, an Indian scholar who used to teach in Turkey those days, and he has written a very good book. It's titled, For the Sake of Allah, The Origin, Development and Discourse of the Gulen Movement. We organized a talk by Professor Anwar Alam in Mumbai, and he said, again bringing out the similarity between Gulen and Gandhi, he said, like Gandhi, Gulen firmly believes that one cannot secure higher moral and ethical ends by immoral, unethical, and illegal means. For Gulen, like Gandhi, the very selection of rightful means is an end in itself. So my association with people associated with the Gulen movement and Hizmet movement, it became stronger and stronger. And that created a deep desire in my mind that I should visit the United States and meet Hoja Effendi Fethullah Gulen. Hoja Effendi is a Turkish word. It means master teacher, Gurudev. We call Rabindranath Tagore Gurudev, that is the Guru of Gurus. Similarly, Hoja Effendi means Guru of Gurus, master teacher. So I had a deep desire to meet Hoja Effendi Fethullah Gulen. And my dream came true in 2018 when I received an invitation from two Hizmet platforms. One is Journalists and Writers Foundation and Alliance for Shared Values, both based out of the United States. They said there is going to be a United Nations General Assembly in 2018, and on that occasion they were organizing a conference. They invited me. I said, I'll definitely come, but I have a request. Will you please arrange my meeting with Fethullah Gulen? And they said yes, and I was overjoyed. So 2018, I met Fethullah Gulen at Pennsylvania. There's a beautiful spiritual resort in a village in Pennsylvania where the followers of Gulen have established a kind of ashram. And I had an opportunity to go and meet him. And subsequently, I wrote an article at a very popular portal in India. It's called scroll.in. And Pragya tells me that that article has been circulated. Have you received it? Have you read it? I want to know from the participants whether they have read it.
Yes, we have received and we have gone through that article.
You've gone through that? Oh, Akanksha, I'm so happy to hear that. Has anyone else read it? Okay.
People are replying to the chat. Heber and Mona Lisa just said yes, and I'm sure others have.
Oh, someone
so
says that. No, someone says that no, sir. So which means that some people have read it and others have not read it. So let me Let me tell you how this meeting happened, because I was very happy. The whole process of how this came about. And when I wrote this article, friends, it was just the beginning of COVID campaign, the COVID pandemic, year 2000. And it was the holy month of Ramadan. And I came across a profound reflection by Fethullah Gulen on COVID. So let me begin from there. I read out a few lines from his message on Ramadan. This beautiful period of observance of Ramadan has been eclipsed by the coronavirus epidemic sweeping across the globe. The coronavirus has changed how Ramadan looks, but it will not change our faith in God. Each of us should take the extra time and space afforded by the pandemic, by the pandemic's social distancing measures, as an opportunity for further examination of our connection with God. So here Gulen is saying, and he was saying, that don't look at the pandemic as some kind of a crisis. It's also an opportunity. The opportunity is look within yourself. You are now homebound. You have all the time in the world. Use that opportunity to look within for further examination of our connection with God, our families, and our core values. This is a time to realize our interdependence as nations. What a profound thought, friends. He is telling us this is a time to realize our interdependence as nations, because the pandemic, it did not spare anybody. It swept the entire globe. So he's saying, please understand the interdependence of nations as communities, as inhabitants of a global ecosystem. It's a time to recognize that we all are members of the human family, and each have the opportunity to show the true potential of humanity. As we enter this holy month, it is crucial that we look forward with hope and not despair, which stifles people and progress. Humanity has overcome great challenges in the past, and we will find ways to overcome this challenge too. You know, what a strong message of hope. He says humanity has overcome great challenges in the past, and we will find ways to overcome this challenge too. If we focus on the opportunities this pandemic presents, we will be able to keep our spirits high and reach the end of this tunnel much quicker. This is the message that Fethullah Gulen gave at the beginning of the pandemic. And when I read this, I said, you know, this is such an important message. I should therefore tell the readers about my own encounter, spiritual encounter with this great man. So I wrote this article in Scroll. When I met him, friends, in Pennsylvania, he was 81. Now he's nearly 85. He looked frail. He was running temperature on that day. Yet he agreed to meet me. I mean, that was true generosity of spirit. He was unwell, and yet he agreed to meet me. We were led to a large prayer hall. It was full of devotees, but it was completely tranquil. Being the only non-Turkish person and also a non-Muslim person in that gathering, I was the only person who was not Turkish, and I was the only person who was not Muslim. I sat in a far corner. But as Fethullah Gulen walked into the hall, he spotted me and signaled with his hands to sit next to him. He then led the Islamic prayer, which was long and interspersed with deep spells of meditative silence. And then, with the help of a translator, he said that he was very happy to receive a friend from India. He praised India as a land that cradled an ancient and rich civilization, and one that became home to people of many religions, coexisting peacefully. I told Fethullah Gulen, "Thank you, Your Holiness, for giving me this rare honor to meet you. In spite of doctors' advice to take rest, I have come here as a devout Hindu," because I'm a Hindu. I said to him that I have come here as a devout Hindu and a self-appointed representative of all the people in India who believe in the noble values of peace and harmony, which you also cherish. Above all, the value of dialogue and mutual understanding in our world today. I then told Fethullah Gulen about my passionate conviction in activities aimed at promoting Hindu-Muslim harmonization and India-Pakistan normalization, the two being interrelated parts of a common historical agenda. When he heard the word Pakistan, the look in his eyes grew more intense. I therefore briefly explained the nature of the problem between India and Pakistan, the wars we have fought, the fruitless search for a just and humane solution to the Kashmir problem, the bloodshed due to terrorism and other types of violence, the shameful reality of poverty and socio-economic inequality in both India and Pakistan, and the imperative need to find a lasting solution for peace and development in all of South Asia. When I said this, he was listening very attentively to me. He said, "I pray for peace between India and Pakistan." Indeed, the entire world is restless for peace. At this point, I presented to him my book on Mahatma Gandhi, and I said, Gandhi was a pious Hindu, but he had the highest regard for Islam and Prophet Muhammad. He sacrificed his life for Hindu-Muslim unity. Gulen listened to me and he remarked that he had great respect for Gandhi and his philosophy of nonviolence. He said, "It strongly resonates with Islam's message for peace, mercy, and universal brotherhood." Gandhi's life, especially his insistence on peaceful resolution of conflicts and his efforts to build bridges between Hindus and Muslims, has had a deep influence on me, Gulen said. At this point, I made an appeal. Your Holiness, 2019-20 marks Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary. May I request you to send a commemorative message to Indians on this occasion? He agreed. His tribute, which is sent later to me, his office sent to me. Let me read out that message, friends. It's a beautiful tribute to Mahatma Gandhi from Fethullah Gulen. It came on Gandhi Jayanti on 2nd October 2018. On the 150th anniversary of one of the world's greatest leaders and peace advocates, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, I am delighted to join the peace-loving people of India and the world in commemorating the exemplary legacy of the Mahatma. The extraordinary life that he lived and the unparalleled legacy that he has left behind inspire all those striving to bring peace and prosperity to this conflict-ridden world. Among the many invaluable aspects of his life, his unshakable belief in the truth of nonviolence and peace, despite the insurmountable challenges he faced during his lifetime, it is something that deserves highest recognition. Through his life's example, Gandhi demonstrated that there is no problem in the world that cannot be addressed through peaceful and non-violent means. Gandhi's concern for those who see difference as a cause of conflict, his efforts to build bridges between Hindus and Muslims, his advocacy for serving life instead of seeking revenge for the lives lost in conflict, and his dedication to the people of his nation without discriminating against anyone are aspects of his life that have a deep influence on me. These are Gulen's words. The last paragraph in the tribute that he sent friends, it read, Gandhi's teachings, ideas, and vision have become more relevant today than ever in addressing the problems of humanity. In the context of the problems we face in our globalized world, we remember Gandhi as an exemplary member of the human family, a source of profound learning and inspiration. When I received this message from his office, I was overjoyed. It's one great peacemaker of our time paying tribute to another peacemaker. This is dialogue, friends. Dialogue across continents. Dialogue across even historical periods. I now come to a few points that perhaps some of you may not know, and that is how Islam influenced Gandhi. We heard Fethullah Gulen saying how Gandhi influenced him, but I would like to tell you how Islam influenced Gandhi. Some years ago, I had gone to South Africa. Not last month, but some years ago I had gone. That was my first visit. And in Durban, I went to the office of the Natal Indian Congress, which was established by Gandhi in the first decade of last century. And there people told me that Gandhiji used to visit a mosque right in front of the office of the Natal Indian Congress. And that is where he got this idea of satyagraha. And that really surprised me. What is the connection between Islam and satyagraha? So I went to the mosque and met the imam there. And he explained to me that, yes, those days, nearly 100 years ago, Gandhiji used to come to that mosque and discuss religion with the people there, and especially his curiosity, his interest in knowing about Islam. And there he first understood the meaning of jihad. Jihad is of two types. Jihad of the greater type and jihad of the lower type. The greater jihad, Jihad-e-Akbar, it is all about self-improvement. It is a struggle with oneself, not struggle with the world, but struggle with oneself so that one becomes a better human being. So that's the same thing as satyagraha. So he said, I must practice this and use it for my struggle. So in South Africa, he came up with this concept of satyagraha in 1906 after his discussions with Islamic friends. He used satyagraha both for self-improvement and also to struggle for rights, for equality, and for justice. I have mentioned this episode of Gandhi learning from Islam, which again goes to show how dialogue matters. When we have a dialogue, we begin to understand the good points of other religions. So we have so much to learn from the life of Gandhi and of course the life of Fethullah Gulen. Before I end, friends, I mentioned to you that Hoja Effendi, the guru of gurus, he also had a guru. He had a teacher. And that person's name is Syed Nursi, Gulen's guru, and his philosophy of non-violence. What explains Gulen's deep faith in peace, non-violence, human dignity, and interfaith tolerance as the cornerstones of Islam? For answer, we have to know something about the guru, the teacher who influenced Gulen. And that person's name is Bediüzzaman Syed Nursi. He was born in 1878 and he passed away in 1960. He is one of the greatest Islamic theologians of the last century. He wrote a book, a very famous book. It's called Risale Nur. Risale Nur, which means the message of light. It's 6,000 pages, a commentary on the Holy Quran, on which he worked for 40 years. Many of these 40 years were spent in jail because he was jailed by Ataturk, the ruler of Turkey. And this book is regarded as a definitive treatise on Islamic modernity. The most appealing aspect of Nursi's thought is a strong rejection of violence. Strong rejection of violence. He says the days of the jihad of the sword are over. Because people, when the people hear the name, the word jihad, they think it's jihad of the sword. He says, jihad of the sword, those days are over. The only appropriate way for Muslims to struggle for the beliefs, for their beliefs, is jihad of the word. Not jihad of the sword, but jihad of the word, W-O-R-D. What is jihad of the word? Jihad of the word is nothing but dialogue. Use word, use communication, use dialogue to influence others and to learn from others. So this is the era of the jihad of the word or the jihad of the pen. The true meaning of jihad, he says, is striving on the Godward path via positive action. The true meaning of jihad, said Nursi, is striving on the Godward path, the path towards God, via positive action. Karm karo, acha karm, good karma is the way to move towards, travel towards God. Nursi was convinced of the primacy of love in Islam. The time for enmity and hostility is finished, he wrote. In particular, Nursi urged unity between Muslims and Christians for the common purpose of achieving peace and global fraternity. course, the area in which he lived, it was a place where Muslims and Christians lived together. And therefore, his focus was on Muslim-Christian dialogue. And he says, love is the basic principle of Islam. In his book, An Islamic Jihad of Non-Violence, Syed Nursi's Model, there is a famous scholar, his name is Salid Sailigan, a scholar of interreligious studies. He puts Nursi in league with Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. So when we study Fethullah Gulen, when we study Mahatma Gandhi, when we study Nursi, we come to know the teachings of all the great philosophers of the world. We come to know the basic teachings of all the religions of the world. And friends, it is through this dialogue, study of dialogue, that we expand our horizons, we enlarge our hearts, and we improve our conduct. I'm so happy that you all are participating in this course on dialogue. I had this opportunity of sharing with you my understanding of the teachings of Fethullah Gulen. We are very happy and fortunate that we are living in an age when he's still alive. But this world has seen so many such great personalities who may not be alive today. They are not with us in physical form, but their ideas, their ideals, their principles, they are as alive as ever. So I would like to end at this point. I hope that I have tried to present before you some salient aspects of Fethullah Gulen's philosophy and how it is important to our own effort to practice dialogue in our own life settings. I have tried to bring out some similarity between the teachings of Gulen and Mahatma Gandhi. They belong to the whole world. You know, I don't consider Gulen only as a Turkish person, just as Mahatma Gandhi is not just an Indian. They belong to the whole world. So today, when the world is becoming small, when the world is becoming interdependent, interconnected, it is important for all of us to become more than just citizens of our nations. We all should become citizens of the world. And I'm very happy to know from Behzad that there are participants in this certificate course. There are 3 participants who are from outside India. Someone from Iraq, someone from, I don't know where else. Who is a person from Iraq participating here now?
Yes, sir. I'm from, yes.
Hello. How do I spell your name? How do I pronounce your name?
It's Hevar.
Hevar. Oh.
Yeah, it means sunset.
Oh. And
Yes.
Where are you from? Where are you joining us from?
Yes, I am from Kurdistan. It's in northern Iraq.
Wow.
Yes, and we speak Kurdish. Our native language is a Kurdish.
Oh, you see, this is the beauty of our shared learning today.
Yes.
You know, there are Indians, but there are also foreigners, and we are all sharing the same platform and
Yes.
participating in dialogue. What a beautiful moment today. Is there any other participant from outside India here?
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello. My name is Shraq, which means light.
And where are you
I'm-
from?
I'm from Kurdistan as well.
Oh,
Yes, we speak Kurdish, and I just want to share that I'm one of the graduate of the Fethullah Gulen school here, Turkish English school.
oh.
Yes.
So happy to know this because when last month I went to Kenya,
Mhm.
my friend Mustafa, who heads the activities of the Hijmat movement in Nairobi, he took me to a school. It's called Light International. And I was so impressed with the school that the Gulen's followers are running. It was
Yes,
a beautiful
right.
school. And they're doing this in so many countries around the world.
Yes. We have so many schools here in Kurdistan region of Iraq. We have it in the Arabic region. And there are so many schools outside other countries, and they're doing a very, very great job, actually. Like, they're really teaching us the real meaning of education, like from our attitudes, from the knowledge that we receive, from accepting the differences. Yeah, like it's something so different. It's a very different environment, actually. And I was not, but they're not talking about like anything, like, for example, political or religious, just through their attitudes and through they're showing us the real religion, which is humanity. That's all they're trying to work on the youth is actually, and they're doing it in a very great way, and they're sacrificing everything. Like, there are so many teachers that living in Turkey, which is a very beautiful country, but they're going to, for example, Africa, they're going to Kazakhstan, they're coming to Iraq, which is full of conflicts and wars and crises, just to serve the younger generation in order to have a brighter future, which is something that we should like cherish it, actually.
Very, very true. It is
Yeah.
so commendable
Mhm.
that volunteers of the Hizmet movement have spread all around the world. As you said, they're Turkish, but they're working in Kenya, they're working in South Africa, where they're working in Tanzania and Nigeria and Kazakhstan, and of course, in your place.
Yeah.
And I went to one such school in America,
Yes.
a beautiful school. And they're running schools even in India, in Hyderabad, and in Kerala, in Mumbai. So one should really salute these committed volunteers.
Yes, right. Thank you.
So, Pragya, how do we go forward? Can we have some discussion with all the participants?
Yes. So we can have it like with all the participants if you wish, or we can go by if somebody has some questions and then go to other participants. So
yes, that's a better way. So
okay.
If somebody has question or somebody even has some thought to express.
Okay. So yes, and you can just raise your hands, and then I'll let you know. So please feel free to have any comments. And we also have somebody from Bangladesh who's not present today, and he also works for the Hizmet Dialogue, one of the partners. And we also have Noor here today, who's also from the Kurdish region of Suleimania region of Iraq. And I'm not sure if she can, I think. Okay, Arfat, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It was really nice to hear you. And I want to add one thing. I don't have a question, but when you were speaking about this Gulen's thought and Gandhi's and the spiritual journey of Gulen, I remember one person from the Kashmir Valley who during medieval times, who is known by the name Nundrish. or some call him Sheikh Nuruddin Noorani or Sheikh Ul Alam.
Yes.
And I was like, it was like I was no looking at his life only, because my focus of research, actually I'm a researcher doing PhD from JNU, and my area of research is uh, the impact of Sufi Islam on in Kashmir society and politics, and the influence of Buddhism from which transmitted from Kashmir to Central Asia. And so when I was going through the literature, I found Sheikh Nuruddin Noorani. So he was preaching in the same manner, and he gave up this worldly desires at the age of 30 and went in a cave and lived there for a longer period of time in meditation. And it is said that he was drinking only a cup of milk every day and nothing else. And later in his life, he used to drink only a cup of water only. And he has worked tirelessly for the promotion of peace, Hindu Muslim unity, and all the things. Thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you so much for bringing into our dialogue today the sacred name of Sheikh Nuruddin, who also, as you mentioned, is known as Nandrishi.
Nandarish, yes.
And one of his disciples is a poetess,
Yes.
Laldead.
Laldead, yes. It is said, sir, when Sheikh Nuruddin Noorani was born, he refused to breastfeed by his mother. Then the Laldead came and he started breastfeeding.
Yeah. So, these are great, they're, I won't call them stories, but they are facts of life from the history of Kashmir. And that's why Kashmir
it is still, sir, in our folklore, the traditional songs. Yes.
Kashmir is therefore a place where so many spiritual traditions, they commingled. It is Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Sikhism, and that was the place from where light spread to other parts of the world, to Central Asia and elsewhere. And which is why it is so sad that Kashmir is seeing so much conflict, and it's our duty to bring the conflict to an end. And the way to bring the conflict to an end is by learning from the teachings of these great rishis, great Sufi saints of Kashmir, who who taught us not to fight, but to live together in harmony. And here I would like to, I remember a great Kashmiri poet, Mahzoor, Gulam Ahmad Mahzoor, right?
Yes.
And there is a poem of Gulam Ahmad Mahzoor, in which he says that Hindus and Muslims, they are like milk and sugar. You add sugar to the milk,
yes,
it becomes sweet. So don't fight. Be sweet to each other. Thank you. Thank you, Arafat.
Thank you so much,
Arafat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we can have more comments and questions. So please feel free to raise your hands.
Who is next?
Just on my screen, I can see. Okay, so there's a Mona Lisa asking a question. Mona Lisa, you can just unmute yourself and ask. Thank you. So she's just mentioning that the global ecosystem has is like Vasudev Kutumbakam. and she just wants your comments on that. I'll just read out her chat. It says, a global ecosystem, part of the inclusiveness as a cultural thought of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Your comments, sir.
You know, Mona Lisa has expressed a beautiful thought. Ecosystem. You know, we usually use the word ecosystem in the context of biological part of nature. Trees, landscape, water bodies, all these form the natural ecosystem. But there is also a cultural ecosystem, a social ecosystem, the human ecosystem. And in this human ecosystem, we have people of so many races, so many cultures, so many religions, so many countries. Someone is from Kurdistan, someone is from Bangladesh, someone is from India, and within India, from different parts of India. So this ecosystem of diversity also has unity within it. And that unity is expressed by this beautiful Sanskrit term, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. To those who are not familiar with this word, let me explain. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means the entire world is one family. It comes from the ancient Vedas of India. Rig Veda, one of the 4 Vedas. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudha is world and Kutum is family. So it says that the entire world is one family. We may belong to Africa or Latin America or Asia or Europe. We may belong to Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism or any other religion. We may speak different languages. Someone is male, someone is female. But all of us, we are part of one family. The entire world is one family. And therefore, why should we fight? Let us live together as people live together in harmony and happiness in a family. So Mona Lisa, thank you very much for this concept that you brought in this discussion on dialogue. Who else?
Thank you. Akanksha, Mohammad Afnan, Irfan, Noor, Heber, Imran Ahmed, Mohammad Osama, Ruben, Kulsum, anyone wants to ask questions or have comments, please feel free.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I do have one question.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine and I'm very happy to see you. Where are you? Where are you from?
I'm basically from Patna, India. Patna, Bihar, sir.
Badhiya.
Yeah. Sir, I have one question that you said so much thing about Fethullah Gulen and you follow his ideology. It's okay. It's completely fine. But my question remains the same, that why these thoughts are not prevailing when it comes to the occupations on innocent such as Palestinian, and nobody comes even Fethullah Gulen did not speak about Palestinians as much as he should be, as I believe. Why no coverage about Uyghurs, Muslim? Okay, sir. If the world leaders like Fethullah Gulen and as you said, he's a land, he's a if they will not come forward and speak about these things, Uyghur Muslims, and Palestinian and everywhere. It's not only related to Muslim, it's everywhere. Whoever is oppressed, if someone does not come and speak, only say, okay, we need humanity, we will be kind, be helpful. This thing are okay. But when it comes to face the harsh reality, I don't see many comments of Fethullah Gulen on these things. What is your remarks on that? I think I made my point clear.
Yes, certainly you have made your point very clear. Usama, you're Usama, right?
Yes. Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, Fethullah Gulen has indeed supported the cause of Palestine. It's not that he has kept silent on the issue of Palestine. The right of Palestinian people to live in freedom and to have their own homeland is supported by every peace-loving person across the world. I do not have any ready reference to show you that he has spoken in favor of the Palestinian rights, but I don't think that he is selective in supporting some right causes and not supporting some other right causes. The only thing that I have read is that no cause, even if it's a right cause, should be pursued with wrong means. That is, by resorting to violence. Have I made my point clear? And you mentioned also the Uyghurs. Now, I don't know about whether he has said anything about Uyghurs. Frankly, I have not read anything.
Thank you, Sama. Can we have more questions? Mohammad Afnan, how are you? Do you have any question or comments? You can just unmute and share.
Can I?
Yes.
Yes, Irfan.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for your brilliant thoughts within the philosophy of Islam and the different religions and how different world leaders play their role. My question is brief and to the point. Can you just give us some specific examples within your lifespan where you have come out with such conflicts or such situations or crises, I would say, in which different parties have played their role through dialogue and a solution has come out and a conflict or a crisis situation has been solved with peaceful means of dialogue? Because we have been hearing about the so many leaders play different role, they had their thoughts, their learnings, but can we have some examples in practical world, like there is conflict all over the world in different regions in different ways? Can you please specify some?
Yeah, very good question, and I'll try and give a couple of examples that I have personally witnessed. Not that we completely achieved peace, but a very sincere effort was made to achieve peace and end conflict. The first example is from Kashmir. I worked with our former Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, between 1998 and 2004. After becoming Prime Minister, he made sincere efforts to bring peace in Kashmir, which, as you all know, was experiencing a lot of violence of both types, violence from terrorists and also violence from the state machinery. So the first time he went to Kashmir, he was asked by reporters तो उन्होंने पूछा, मैं पहले हिंदी में बताऊंगा, उसके बाद अंग्रेजी में बताऊंगा। तो पत्रकारों ने पूछा कि आप ये कश्मीर के मसले को कैसे सुलझेंगे, कैसे हल करेंगे संविधान के दायरे में? How will you resolve this problem of Kashmir within the framework of the Indian Constitution? This was the question. So our former Prime Minister, he paused for a while and then he said, हम इसे इंसानियत के दायरे में हल करेंगे. That is, we will resolve this within the framework of humanism. Humanism is above constitution. That is the message that he was trying to give. And with this word, he really won the hearts of many Kashmiris who felt that here is a person, here is a leader who feels our pain, who understands us. That humanism, insaniyat, is above politics, is about constitution. So isi tarah, on one more occasion, he said that we will bring peace and normalcy and democracy in Kashmir by following three concepts. One is insaniyat, the second is jamhuriyat, the third is Kashmiriyat. Insaniyat is humanism, jamhuriyat is democracy, and Kashmiriyat is the diversity of Kashmir, Hindus, Muslims, all of them who have contributed to the culture of Kashmir. So this, in my view, was a very honest effort to end the conflict. The same thing, I'll give one more example. The same effort, sincere effort, was made in trying to bring about friendship between India and Pakistan. As you know, this problem has been going on for many, many years, right since 1947. But when he became Prime Minister, and I was working with him in the Prime Minister's office then, he undertook a very unique peace mission. He went to Pakistan in a bus from India. I was also in the same bus. Because he said that I want to go there with a mission, with a paigam, with a message of peace. So there was a reception for him in Lahore. All the elite of Pakistan were present. And in that meeting, he read out a poem of his. He was a poet, as some of you know. Vajpayee was a poet. और उस कविता के 4 लाइन मैं बताऊंगा अभी. I'll read out just the 4 lines from that poem. He said, "Jang na hone denge." I'll read out in Hindi first and tell you the meaning in English. Jang na hone denge. Bharat Pakistan padosi. साथ साथ रहना है. प्यार करे या वार करे, दोनों को ही सहना है. जो हम पर गुजरी, बच्चों पर न होने देंगे, जंग न होने देंगे. Jang na hone denge means we shall not allow a war to take place. He said, India and Pakistan, we are neighbors. Whether we fight or whatever we do, we both suffer. So whatever has happened to us, we will not let that happen to our children. We will not allow another war to happen. So when he read out this poem, friends, I was present at that meeting. I saw tears in the eyes of many Pakistanis because they also felt equally strongly that there should be peace between India and Pakistan. So this is my answer to your question. I will not claim that peace has come between India and Pakistan, nor will I claim that peace has returned to Kashmir, but sincere efforts were made through dialogue, end conflicts through dialogue.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. That's a very that's a poem we still remind everyone, especially the last two lines, that जो हमारे साथ हुआ वो बच्चों के संग ना होने
देंगे.
Okay, that's thank you for that. Akanksha, would you like to ask something? Oh, okay, Arfat, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, the Vajpayee government started the bus service from Srinagar to Muzaffarabad. And my grandfather was so happy because in 1947 his brother went to that side, and he was always like, very enthusiastic about to go to Pakistan to meet his brother. But in the 2005, what happened? Unfortunately, my grandfather died and he couldn't make it. But he was very much interested that once I want to meet him. He had never seen him since 47. So he was always weeping, sobbing. He was telling me the stories, but I think in 7th or 8th class, so I couldn't connect those days what is the pain and agony. But it was really an effort, a nice effort in the right direction, but unfortunately, the situation didn't remain the same. And the Vajpayee's, the sky is the limit. Even the separatists quote this line is that we were promised to Vajpayee, we had belief in Vajpayee. So the leader was respected much more from all factions of the political factions, whether it was Hurriyat, mainstream, everybody was in a great agreement with the leader.
You see, that goes to show the power of honest dialogue. When there is honesty, even your enemy respects you. And when there is dishonesty, even your friends don't respect you because they know that you are not honest. So there should be honesty and there should be dialogue. So we may not have succeeded in bringing about peace between India and Pakistan, but our efforts must continue, because there is no other future. There cannot be a better future for our children if we continue to have this conflict. This conflict does not help India. This conflict does not help Pakistan. So people like you, people like us, our friends, our sisters and brothers in Pakistan. And I would like Behzad, please include Pakistanis also in this dialogue, studies. Let there be friends from across the border. Let's listen to them.
And yes, maybe I will.
To us. So, yeah, go ahead.
So maybe I will find, cousin, brother of my grandfather.
Yes, देखिए कितनी, what a tragedy it is. People of the same family, they cannot meet. Why have we created these borders? People should be able to move freely to meet their relatives, friends. So that is the future we should create, whether it is India, Pakistan, Israel, Palestine, or any other.
Hopefully we will.
So Usama, you come again.
Yeah.
I want to hear you.
I'm pretty satisfied, sir. I'm hopeful for that days to come again, so that we can live freely. Everyone, whether it is Palestine, Israel, India, Pakistan, everywhere if there is issue, I hope this dialogue would prevail and sort out such problems. Because in the end, we are all human, and we would love to be together again, everyone with everyone.
You know, day before yesterday, in the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, Morocco won against Spain. So after their victory, did you know that they displayed the flag of Palestine?
Yeah. I watched that match.
So
Yeah.
The sentiment that Palestine should be free, Palestine should have its own free homeland, that is supported by people across the world, and it will happen. Only thing is that it should happen peacefully.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Ruben or Imran Ahmed, do you have any questions or comments? Shah, would you like to say something, or Heber?
No, thank you. It was very nice to share those thoughts and things. Actually, I really enjoyed. Thank you, teacher. Thank you all for sharing your beautiful perspectives.
But I also want to hear some thoughts from you.
From me?
Yes.
Or generally? Yes, please.
From everyone. From everyone, like
from
whoever.
everyone.
Yeah.
Like what? About what?
About the situation in your country, or about whatever you have reflected upon the world?
Actually, my country situation is somehow a long story. Like, we have been through many crises since 2003. Before 2003, like before Saddam regime, we were Kurds, and there was bomb attack, chemical attack, and so many things that happened to my people, actually. There were like 5,000 Kurdish people killed by the chemical attack that the Iraqi regime spread it in Halabja, which is a part of my country. So since then, like after the Saddam regime, like gratefully things changed in our side, like in Kurdish, for Kurdish side. And now we have a small country, let's say, and we are living in peace, actually. There are so many refugees recently that are living in my region, in Kurdistan region, from Syria, from Iraq. And but now we are a land of peace, and there are so many Arab friends and so many Arab refugees that they are so happy in our country, and they are not going back because they say, like, we have rights here more than in our region. So right now we are working actually on building dialogue and sharing like peaceful thoughts toward our people, and because like we are a region of peace, so we want to make it as action, and hopefully our people are so open-minded toward those changes, like we accept that change despite like being people like always suffering from not letting us to have our freedom. But despite that, we are working so hard in order to show our beautiful culture and, you know, share our beautiful similarities with other countries. And that's what's going on. Like, we are working, we are still in the progress, we are still having hope, and our youths are very intelligent, actually. So I am so hopeful for them. And I'm trying always to work with them and, you know, share what I believe and make some change together. So yeah, that's what we are doing. Thank you.
Very happy to hear this from you. And
Thank
we
you.
wish We wish success to your efforts, and we are so happy to know that there is peace. This peace should be consolidated.
Of course, yes. So, yeah. I would like to actually, for the boundaries that you mentioned, like, I hope one day there will not be any boundary that I could come to India and participate in one of your weddings, guys. Like, I adore your weddings, you know. I want to, like, you know, celebrate that, but then wear those saris and those accessories, you know. You are so colorful, like, so invite me, please.
Oh, sure.
That's also a form of a cultural dialogue.
Yeah, it's so good. You know, I watched so many Indian movies, so I'm obsessed with the dance, with the clothes, with all. 1 week, 1 month, you're all dancing. That's so good, you know. So I am so interested in it, actually.
Thank you, Tra. Noor, I think you're the only one I haven't called out yet. So if you'd like to say something or ask a question.
So where is Noor from?
Noor, you can just introduce yourself.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Oh.
Actually, me too. I'm from Iraq, northern Iraq, Kurdistan, exactly from Sulaimani. And I'm chemical engineering and working with the Dialogue and Culture Organization. Today's session, I wish you never stop talking about all beautiful things. It was so informative for me to hear new things, to hear such value things like this, and I enjoyed really, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you to hear these views and words from our friends who are so far away from us. And we are also very interested in your culture, in your language, in your music, and all the great treasures from your history. You know, ours is a beautiful world. The more you think about the beauty of this world, the more you realize that there is no end to it. Every country has its own unique beauty, whether it's Africa, whether it's Arabs, whether it's Kurds, whether it is Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Kashmiris, or South Indians, or Europeans. We are all one people. And as our other friend said, there should be no restrictions on people traveling. So, and we all should create a world of tomorrow, when our children and grandchildren and their grandchildren can live in peace and move freely and help each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Pragya, can I go?
Yes, Akanksha, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your experiences, sharing your experiences, and come to the comparison, or not a comparison, but how the both thinkers, so great thinkers, comes in a platform where they share. The sharing is very, very interesting and very inspiring. So for that, thank you so much. To think about the level like the Gandhi and in current scenario, how people are working in that thinking. So that's also very interesting to read out your paper as well, and to hearing from you is always a very good thing in this platform. So for that, thank you. And I just wanted to mention one thing, like in this phase now, we are becoming a people, those who expect more and those who want to do less always. Like we expect more people to understand our position, to understand our culture, to understand our religion, but we don't want to understand the others' positions. There these conflicts and there these things arises. So I think, as you mentioned in the starting line, we have to reform ourselves, we have to work on ourselves, like Gandhi's experiment with truths. So we also need to first understand what is our mental peace, what is our level of satisfactions of the things, or what is our level of expectations and the understanding of the other's position as well. So that is exactly very important when we come to the platform of dialogue, to build peace, to build harmony in the world itself and within oneself as well. And as we are talking about the world of tomorrow, the world of hope, I think if we we are moving in a situation where the humanity is degrading, not in the level of just religion, or the human to human relation, but to the environment we are also disconnecting. And that plays a very important role in reforming the cultural bonding to oneself. So I think we should not forget that as well while discussing the boundaries and discussing the world of hope and tomorrow. So thank you so much for your
Akanksha, you really brought into this discussion some very important points, and your first observation that we want others to learn from us, but we are not so keen on learning about others. It's very true, and it happens because somewhere those who think like this, they think that they're superior. They're superior to others. Others should learn from us. We don't have anything to learn from others. This attitude is an attitude of superiority. It's an attitude of arrogance. It's an attitude of ignorance, because we are ignorant about others, but we are not aware of our own ignorance. But when we come to know about them with open eyes, with open heart, and with open mind, we begin to see, wow, there is so much from them that we can learn. There is such beautiful things in their culture, in their spirituality, in their religion, in their customs, in their music, in their literature, in their dance. So therefore, we should always keep our minds, our heart, and our heads open. And we should never have the attitude of superiority. In this world, no one is superior, no one is inferior. No one is great, no one is small. Whether a country is small, whether a country is big, we are all equal. You know, India is a nation of today 1.4 billion people. There are countries that have just a few million population. But can we say, oh, Indians, we are great? They are not great. That's a wrong attitude. Whether they are small, we are big, we are all equal. So you have brought a very important observation into this dialogue. One more point that you made, it's about nature. We have a big responsibility, especially in the 21st century, to preserve nature, because we are destroying nature every day. Our forests are shrinking, our rivers are getting polluted, our air is polluted. You know, I'm in Delhi today, and the air in Delhi is so polluted. What will happen to our health? What will happen to the health of our children if this continues? The mountains bearing snow, they're melting. Maybe after some decades, there will be no snow left. Snow is already in Antarctica. The glaciers are melting. So we have a frightful situation in 50 years, 100 years from now. So climate change is a very big challenge before the entire world. And this also requires dialogue, learning from each other and working together, planting trees and taking all those other measures which will protect the planet. So I'm very happy that you have made these two very important points in this debate. Thank you, Akanksha.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Imran, you can go next and share your thoughts. Imran, are you there? Okay. Imran? You can go and next and share your thoughts. Please unmute yourself and speak.
Hello, Imran.
Hello, sir. I didn't hear what you guys were saying, sir. I just there was a lot of noise.
You can just share your thoughts about you know, a situation. I mean, anything that you feel strongly about in the world or in your region.
Where do you live, Imran?
Sir, I was also a Delhiite. I was doing my master's and my MPhil from Delhi, but recently I have shifted back to my hometown, that is Guwahati. So right now I am teaching here in university, private university. So I'm right now attending the whole lecture from the university itself. And apart from that, the lecture was really very good. The things which really affected me as personally were with regard to the world that we are seeing, and I have been I've been following politics for quite some time right now. Since my undergrad, I've been following politics in a very by going to the field. I was involved into human rights activism and everything. So I've seen politics from near. I've seen the dark side of politics, and I've seen how this COVID thing emerged, and how after COVID, post-COVID, there is a whole lot of things. So I see that this whole the things which affects me right now is this whole thing about COVID. How there is so much politics involved in this whole thing, and how whether if there is a like I feel I was at the center stage of COVID, where things were where when the things were coming out of China. At that point of time, it was coming out as images and videos. In the form of images and videos, people were coming to know about COVID from China in India. And then people, all of a sudden, government started announcing that it has arrived in India, and everything changed from there on. And everything we saw, I didn't see anyone dying in front of my eyes, but I've only heard of it. So there is a very mythical side to the COVID thing also, which is when it is mixed with politics. It's something which is very dark, and it is something very fantastical to me right now. It's something which is research worthy. So I'm telling all these things to you because you have been working in a research organization and you have worked for the government of India very closely. So I wanted to know what your perspective about this whole COVID thing. Like, what is your view of the society? My view of the society, my view of the COVID thing is very mythical. I feel there is much more politics to it than truth. So what is your say on it, sir?
Imran, I certainly cannot claim to be an expert on COVID, but I agree with you that we should study this whole crisis far more deeply to understand how it happened, what really happened, and what role politics did. Politics within the country and politics globally. As to what happened, it was so unexpected. Nobody expected that a pandemic of this kind can affect the entire world simultaneously. It shows that we have to be prepared for such risks. And in order to avoid such risks in future, there should be a scientific research on why it happened. What was this? What was the root of this? And tackle the root of the problem. At the same time, we should also be prepared in another way, and that is vaccines, timely vaccines. Maybe a future pandemic will be of a very different kind. So the entire world should invest more and more in research. How the environment is changing, how we have destroyed the environment. And is there any correlation between the destruction of the environment and this pandemic? So these are questions that need to be probed, understood. And if there is a problem, everybody should have proper treatment and equal treatment. During the pandemic, we saw that the poor suffered far more than the rich. Lakhs of people had to go away from their cities, travel to their villages, often by walking. So which means that there is so much injustice in our society. There is so much inequality in our society. This was also brought out by the pandemic. Then in hospitals, we have not invested in hospitals enough. So many people died because of lack of oxygen, lack of beds in hospital. So this one question has brought out so many inadequacies in our system within India and in our system around the world. So at a time when the world is interconnected and interdependent, we are all one family, one village. You know, it's a global village, it's a small village. We are all interconnected. So in this interconnected world, we have to take care of each other. If we think that we can be safe by just working ourselves, no, we don't know what will hit us next. So therefore, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that we are all one family, means that we have to take care of each other. In a family, the father and the mother, they take care of everyone without any discrimination. In the same way, the governments of the world, they are the parents. They should take care of one and all. They should not discriminate. So this is the truth that has come out of the COVID pandemic.
Thank you. Muhammad Alamullah, you can go next. Just unmute yourself and speak. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. You can write your whatever you feel like on in the chat. And Ruben, you can go next. I think you're the last person in the and then we can. Ruben, can you hear us? Okay. So maybe I'm not sure if he can hear. Okay, Ruben is from Manipur, and yeah, so he also has.
I would have loved to hear his views from Manipur. So Ruben, are you there?
Okay, maybe he's okay. So we have in the chat. Yeah. Okay, so if I would just request all of you to reflect on the topic. It has been an amazing journey with this discussion, and And if there are no more questions or comments, maybe we can just conclude the session, since I think we've had really good participation from most people today, and they've come out different views.
Thank you.
So thank you, Sudheendra ji, for ensuring that for getting everybody so involved and for having everyone. Okay, Irfan has a question. Okay. Did I?
Yes, it's not a question. I just want some expert advices from the sir. Mostly we all participants belong to the different subjects, different field of studies, but somehow we are connected with dialogue, or I can say some way we are writing different ways. Some of us publish papers, write for newspapers, or for example, my field of studies, mass communication and journalism, and particularly I'm interested in media conflict studies, or you can say conflict studies, its impact on the audiences. But whenever I write, for example, a research paper for any journal, I try to be an honest speaker, honest researcher, and jot down the happenings that is happening on the grassroots level. But some way when you write it down, you also do not want to land yourself into some political problems. For example, I would not go into the detail, like in perspective of Kashmir. If you write some different things, you have been questioned, you have been asked why you have written this. I have personally faced that at a couple of instances, and you have to be very sure, very much tricky how you can write your conversations and your dialogues, and how you can depict the conflict situations, its solutions. You being at the highest chair and have been played multiple role, what are your advices to us as writers or as dialogue practitioners, how we should deal with such situations?
Irfan, the question or the point that you've raised is extremely important. Unfortunately, we live in a time when in several parts of the world, free thought, free expression is not easy. It comes with risks.
A lot.
And the fact that it is coming with risks in our own country, in Kashmir, is a matter of deep concern for all of us in India. And these risks are increasing. Therefore, it is our responsibility to create conditions whereby there is more freedom. More freedom means people with diverse views to express themselves. Even if I do not agree or I do not like some views, I should respect the right and the freedom of the other person to express his or her views. So this spirit of tolerance is central to democracy. But where such risks exist, then the person has to exercise discretion. First of all, one has to be extremely sure of one's own facts. So one has to make added efforts to make sure that one is not saying anything that is baseless. That is true everywhere, but especially true where there is risk. Secondly, as far as possible, both be bold and be safe. It's difficult. I cannot claim that I'm an expert in this area because I lived in a different environment. I have not lived in Kashmir, or I have not lived in other such conflict areas where there are such risks. So it's easy for me to give advice. But all I can say is that people in risky areas, they should find their own ways to express themselves with a view to finding solutions to the problem, not adding to the problem. Similarly, those who are living outside those risky areas, like us, it is our responsibility to make sure that our brothers and sisters enjoy the same freedom as we do. So it is our responsibility to make sure that we bring peace, we bring normal conditions. And when there are normal conditions, the risks at least reduce, if not completely go away. So it has to be a globally cooperative effort, that we must uphold freedom, we must show tolerance to listening to views, reading views that are critical of us or that we do not agree with, but we must accept and respect the other person's freedom. So I can only say to friends from Kashmir that be brave. You're already very brave. Be patient and have faith. Have faith in India. Have faith in Indian democracy. We all should work together. People of India, Pakistan, we all should work together so that at least in a few years' time, we find a solution to this problem and everybody can then live and work in peace.
Thank you so much, sir. Honored, really.
Thank you. Does anyone have any more comments or questions? We have 2 minutes, and after that, we'll anyways have to wrap up the session. Okay. So thank you, Sudheendra ji. Thank you once again for gracing our certificate course in dialogue studies. I, for one, was very, very happy to meet you again as well. And I'm sure the students here have learned a lot from your speech. So thank you.
And I want to thank you, Pragya. I want to thank Behzad again. And I want to thank each and every participant. And I want to especially thank and appreciate our friends from outside India. I saw so many of people from Kurdistan for the first time. My very best wishes to you. And I end by raising just one slogan. Jai Jagat. Jai Jagat means victory to the world, victory to humanity. Thank you.